Good evening, folks. I actually forgot to hit the go live until the last part of it. You still got the part of the countdown, but not the whole thing. So you got the shortened version. So we're back here again. It is the first day of September. So we're here with PSA Canada doing a hobby talk. Funny enough, I did mention in the previous episodes, we are collectors. Well, that was put no more to the test than right now. Literally, as Brad and I were chatting pre-thing, I was focusing, I was locked in, I was ready to snipe. And I've added one more to one of my set registries for my Mike Medano. So I was victorious. I won mere moments ago, the thrill of victory. And now we're going to sit here and chat about a couple of different hobby related things. So Brad's got a couple of updates for us. I'll do a little housekeeping as far as the previous episodes. I did mention already that when you leave a comment on these videos, even after the fact, during the course of the week, folks will come in and answer them. That's number one. But at the same time, we'll also address them on the following episodes. So like I said, do feel free to throw comments in because it's the best way to go about it. So first, let me grab a couple of comments. So this one is Baseball Card Curmudgeon. So Baz, absolutely. What's up, fellas? Football draft tonight, so I'll miss, but have a great episode. Thank you for leaving the comment either way. We appreciate you. Stricken Canadians, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you as well. Yannick here. Good evening, fellas. Good evening, Yannick. So thank you guys for hanging out. And like usual, it will be open. So we have touched on a lot of the basic questions. We're still going to touch on a couple more tonight. And there was one that Brad and I were talking about that'd be a good one because even some folks that have been submitting for a while don't know this too well. It's one of those things they'll hear these terms, and we'll talk about some of those different levels. Like if you might have heard Q1, Q2, doing basically grading, and then of course shipping. Some of them are a little bit more self-explanatory, but some of them might help having a little explanation, and that's hopefully what we're trying to provide here a little bit for everybody. So let me go do the little housekeeping piece. So this was a question from the previous episode, and it was answered here, but I want to give you a chance, Brad, to kind of fill in the blank on that as well. So this is Jay Sutcard. I want to make sure I got that right. Is do you accept photo submissions? So this was answered on here, but do you want to give a little bit of the outline on do you accept photo submissions?
Yeah, so currently we're not. We're just focused on sports cards, but we will be in the near future, that's for sure. We're working on it right now. I'd say by 2023 for sure we will be, as we keep on building up our team and keep progressing in the right direction with the partnership with PSA.
Beautiful, beautiful. And by the way, guys, those of you who are joining in, once we get into a couple of the other items here, it'll be completely open. So if you want to chat about a couple of things related to how to submit, a couple of the usual kind of questions. So feel free to ask that. Also, PSA Canada in the chat is mentioning if you want to do a status check and you have an order with PSA Canada, you can ask. So Sherry there will be there to check out on the chat and give you a little bit details, including give you some of those different levels that they're at. So we're going to talk about that. One other point I'll make real quick off the top, and I'll remind you again at the end. We're slowly building up the channel. The goal here is to try to expand this and make this valuable for you. So number one, the comments help. Number two, the questions help. But also number three is you're watching these videos. If you're getting some value out of them, if you could like and subscribe, I think we're at about 84, 85 subscribers. We're making our way to the 100 so we can get the custom URL. That's goal number one. I want to get to 100. So we'll see if we can do that there. I like Bubblegum Cardboard Collectibles. Wake Me Up When September Ends. I like that song lyric reference. I appreciate it. I like it. Okay. So, Brad, give us a little bit of an update. I know you guys took in a ton of submissions recently. So, how is their status? How are you guys doing right now with all that?
Yeah, good. So I think in June we took in close to 10,000, around 10,000 cards, which was great for us. That was before the July special was announced by PSA. And right now, I'm going to say we probably received back around 8,000 in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And we're getting those out to the customers as fast as we can. A lot of those came from the Toronto show, and then a lot of them were just our regular June submitters. So they're rolling in, and we're pumping out the invoices as fast as we can. And we hope to get the goal was the expected turnaround date from the Toronto Expo was September 8th. So our goal is to get everyone's cards back by then, and we're well on pace to do that. There's always the one thing. There's always a couple of orders that lag behind. I can't really answer why they always do, but most of the time it's usually if there's a problem order. There's sometimes that when they get to we'll talk about the stages, when they get to the QA2 stage, there could be dust inside one of the holders. And if that happens, the whole order gets pulled, it goes to a different department, it then gets processed, and then the whole order comes back. So that could add a couple, 2 or 3 weeks onto things that's beyond our control. But by the looks of it, we should have everyone's cards back in the next couple of weeks from the Toronto Expo.
Very nice. So on the whole, it's making progress on it, and we're getting through it. So that's always good to know. So let me see here quickly. Sanderson Dora, good evening. Absolutely. The two greatest minds in the hobby. I'm not going to debate you. Probably not, but I'm not going to fight you on this if you insist. So I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. One of the other things we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about some of the stages and everything. That'll definitely be part of the discussion, no doubt. And it's one of those things where I think one of the fun things is in doing this has been kind of creating that opportunity for folks to be able to. Again, you don't always have this level of access, so it's one of those things. Do take advantage of it. I know folks of you in the chat have been good about that so far in the first couple of episodes, but yeah, take advantage of it because even if it's more broad and abstract, it doesn't have to be PSA Canada specific. Of course, that always helps. That's directed, but if it's about submissions, some confusion about it, and that'll lead me into kind of the idea that we're going to bring behind. One thing I'll do, actually, let's talk about the levels a little bit. Let's give a little bit of information on that, and then I'll share a little bit of fun time, a little story time with Carlos. We'll have a little fun, a little blast from the past, not that long ago, but it's kind of a fun story to tell. But before so I asked for a status check. You gave me something like Q2 or Q1 or a variety of different levels. There's different levels that PSA uses to tell you how far along it is in the process. What does some of that stuff mean?
Yeah, so it starts off. The first one is when your order actually arrives. So that stage, there's 8 different stages that is used. So that's the arrival stage. So if you online for us, we look, we see the order is, it's entered into the system, it's there. Remember, the second stage is the order prep, and that's where your submission was reviewed, verified. They log it into the system, and they start the process. Then the third submission is research and ID. So when they do that, they want to make sure that the cards are correctly identified. And that's something that we always work at. And we try our very hardest to make sure when we send the cards in that we put the correct card. But there is lots of things that stump us at times when you're looking at certain variations. Some of the modern basketball that has, I don't know, is there 100 different variations on some of the prisms? Like
it's been getting up there into the 50s and thereabouts. Yeah. So it's like even, and this is something just in general, just speaking generally as a hobbyist, it's something that I'm hoping that the manufacturers take more to heart. I'll use O-Pee-Chee Platinum as an example. They put the name of the parallel on the back, and I've made recommendations, by the way, in other genres because Upper Deck does that, and I've talked to Billy Celia from Upper Deck. And I made a suggestion when he was doing his AEW product, and people were getting confused about those parallels, and there were really only 2 major parallels and then a couple other ones, but 2 ones that people kept getting confused. I go, steal from your own product. Put the name on the back. If this is a Pyro parallel, call it Pyro. Put it on the back. If this is Dynamite parallel, put the word Dynamite. So even in the company that does that, there's still opportunities to incorporate that more. But Panini right now doesn't, and you're hoping for the best.
Yeah. No, I think, you 100% nailed it. I love when I see O-Pee-Chee Platinum come through, even though you can kind of tell when you bring up the list, but like the Violet Pixels, Surge, there's Arctic Freeze, some of and they're cool. They do some cool names as well with them. So I like that.
Absolutely. So right now we're a couple levels in. So what's the next stage?
Yeah, the next one is the grading stage. So that is where it goes through the authentication and grading process. That's stage number 4. So sometimes, usually that's the one where you'll see your order and it will just stay there for a little while. That's as they deal with everything. And the backlog, which I think is going to be done anytime, very, very soon now. So
just as we're talking, thank you, Sherry. So right now, as we're talking, I've actually got the stages above us. So you can actually see them as we're having a chat here.
Oh, perfect. Good. That way, in case I missed something there, this is perfect. Then you go into assembly. So assembly that's when they actually, it's pretty self-explanatory, but that's when they slab the card. So that's stage 5. So then when you go into the next stage at QA1, this is where your cards are reviewed for the second time and the grades are verified. So you want to go in and they actually do a double take on it. So if the card was graded a 7, then another grader will look at it to ensure that was done properly. Which is good. And then QA2 is the final stage, and that's where they go over everything. I mentioned it earlier, like there could be dust inside a holder, there could be a hair inside a holder, there could be a label that was a flip that was turned upside down, there's lots of different things that they do on the final stage. So once that's complete there, and that's also the stage where it goes over to the pricing specialists. So the pricing specialists are where PSA does their upgrades. So before they release that order, that goes to them. They review it. If there is any upgrades, they issue those, and then it goes into the shipping department, and the final stage is when they ship it out. So,
Yep. Now, one quick thing, and part of the reason it's important to make this distinction is that a lot of times, like I said, I've listened to folks have this conversation too, and they'll ask about, like, so you'll say QA2, and like, what does that mean? And that's kind of what you just defined there. Another thing is that QA2, sometimes stuff can take a little while in QA2. So it's really important that it's understood that, hey, you can get through all those other steps, but then there's still that final stage where there's a lot of stuff being checked out, and there's a lot of opportunity for different questions to be brought up, different people to see different things. Your mileage may vary, but if something is going to get slowed down a little bit and bogged down, QA2 is kind of a spot where a lot of stuff can be, and that does happen a fair bit.
yeah.
So hopefully that's helpful and at least give you some background on it. So we got a couple of comments and questions here, so we'll touch on those. So CC here, good evening, absolutely, good evening to you. Looking forward to making my first PSA submission at the next expo. Sounds good. Feel free to introduce yourself, and yeah, absolutely. And then the team should be able to help you out with that. The experience at the expo, they do make it pretty easy, so take advantage of that for sure. So Ink Paper Wax Collector here saying, what's the cost to get a ticket done? So what is the current cost for tickets?
Yeah, so the current, it starts at $50 USD. So that is one thing. On top of that, we mentioned it a little bit earlier. So we talked about our pricing. If anybody does want to submit more than 100 cards with a combined service level, then we do offer USD pricing for the exact posted rate. It's very difficult when you start playing with the exchange rate on what to use. Right now, it just hit today at the bank. It was 1.345 to buy USD. Mm-hmm. It's been the highest it's been a little while, and they're saying it could even get a little bit higher. Mm-hmm. So we talked about it, Carlos, when we were mentioning it about, someone said about pricing. So we want to make sure we're protected. Obviously, we don't want to go negative on that.
Of course.
So if someone does want to submit a combination of any different service levels, 100 cards or more, they want to pay the listed price. So if it's $30 for value USD, you can pay USD to us directly. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So hopefully that helps. And one other tip I'll give is, if you're ever curious, like in a pinch, in between, obviously when we're doing the live show, ask away, ask the question. But if whatever you're in a pinch, I've got scrolling across the ticker at the bottom, the PSA Canada Instagram. So number one, you can reach out to people, but number two, on the Instagram, generally pinned or usually right there is the latest pricing. So you can actually see, usually they'll have a couple of posts. Like if I look at it right now, and I can actually show you. So if you look at it right now as it currently stands, and this is just a good process in general, if you check out the Instagram right now, you got 3 posts. One that is pinned, that's us talking about us doing the hobby talks, but then right beside it are 2 different pricing ones. So you can definitely go on there and see it for yourself and be able to pull it up at any time and see the current pricing. And then as time goes on, like that pricing, as there are changes to it, there are additional posts. So if you keep up on the PSA Canada Instagram page, you will get the latest and greatest. It's a good spot to check. All right. So what we'll do here is let me do a little story time for a second here. And then, like I said, if there's any other questions or comments or anything you guys want to talk about, do it. Feel free to. I was actually doing a little bit of clean out at some of my office here, going through piles of stuff. And I actually found a bunch of different things. I didn't find Jimmy Hoffa's body, but it was in play. I'm not saying no, it was in play. But I did find a lot of old paperwork and stuff. I found old PSA submission forms that I hadn't filled out yet. I would actually grab a stack when Len was still doing it. And it was the old form. It was the one where they basically just slapped a sticker on top of it and just scratched stuff off. It was very, very low tech by today's standards. However, one of the things I found is the old PSA Canada sheet that included the pricing. Now, this is from ye old 2018. This is November 2018, so not a million years ago, but I just want to give it to you, a little blast from the past. Those of you who remember, it was kind of funny that I saw it. I can actually share it with you. So check that out. So there's old PSA Canada, and it includes the old email address as well. So don't try to use that one right now. That probably wouldn't work out for you, but this is from 2018. And this was the sheet that you actually had. So you had the submission form, you had the sheet, but if you notice, we've still got the fees, basically based on different tiers, similar to today. So I'll just shift this over to the side. So you got wax packs there, which was relatively new at that time, but then you got the different levels. Now, the lowest tier there, from $1 to $99, was the whopping sum of $8 US. Now, today, it's in Canadian dollars. So you're looking at it, you actually see the conversion, the converted over. Hopefully, we'll get maybe down to some of those lower price levels to where it was competitive to where it was before. I don't know if $8 US is probably not realistic at this point, but it was kind of fun. That $99 rate was kind of a fun one, because I had a lot of fun with this one. And I actually was able to find, at the same time, an old submission form that I had, including a submission that I was able to get at the $8 rate. And what I was able to submit at the $8 rate may shock you. It was actually very funny. So I had 10 cards. So it was $80 US for the regular plus $46 shipping at the time. So it was $126 to grade in 2018. This is November 2018. It was at the expo. So I had two T206 cards. Fair enough. They were low grade. A 1949 Bowman Ralph Kiner. So that was a decent card. A 1954 Bowman Willie Mays, which at the time still fell under that $99, believe it or not, even though it was the case. 1956 Topps Early Win, which is lower grade one. A 68 Topps Mickey Mantle. These are all the regular ones, not subset, the regular ones. 69 Mickey Mantle. 1970 Nolan Ryan. So I got that one as well. A 1990 O-Pee-Chee Premier Mike Modano because I had extras, so I submitted one. I did get a PSA 10 in that one, so spoiler on that. But my favorite, the reason why I wanted to bring it up, the last card of my order, the 10th card in the $8 US category, was this cheap football card of this young upstart. It was a 2017 Donruss, Patrick Mahomes II, submitted for the whopping sum of $8 US. And I did get a PSA 10 in that one. I sold it for about $300, which was the going rate at the time. But I think at its apex it was like $1,200 or $1,300, and I was like, "Ooh, that one hurt." But I was able to buy it for $10. I graded it for $8, and I sold it for $300. So I can't cry about it too much. But it was funny. 2018. It was not that long ago.
Yeah, you know what? It's true when you look at those prices too. And I mean, I was submitting, literally thousands of cards to Len, and nowadays, like what card? When you see that $99 rate, there was so many cards that we were submitting that were actually worth, as PSA 10s, worth $50, $60, $70.
Yes.
Using Young Guns as an example, there's like Aho, Barzell's, and all these guys, and now all of a sudden, those Young Guns prices are all $200, $300, $400. So it's almost like that $99 tier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it will ever come back again. I feel like the lowest is $199.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever go down to that point again because what was the next tier? Even
so the next tier above that, so you had it from 100 to 499 was the next one. It was 20 US at the time.
Right, so 20 US, yeah. So then when PSA just offered the July special was to 199 at 18 US. So that's pretty similar to what it was in 2018 minus that one lower tier.
Yeah. I'd be surprised, yeah. To the same point, I'd be surprised. 199 feels like that could be your bulk rate, like your bulk, more common rate potentially. I'm hoping that it'll be there. So just personally, I'm hoping that for the set registry folks, because they like to submit a lot of cards for their sets and stuff, and it makes sense for them to have a rate that makes sense for them. Like obviously $20, $30. No, that doesn't make any sense for those guys because if you're doing a 1971 top set and you're grading a bunch of commons, like oh no, you're not paying $20, $30 per card. That would be terrible. So hopefully, at least whether it's a special, whether it's a set registry rate, something. I want them to get something that makes sense for them. Yeah. So here, Eric's asked a question. If it says in the United States of America, we're at the Toronto Expo this November, I didn't think that happened. That seems like rumor mongering to me, but fair enough. And wanted to submit specifically with PSA Canada, would that be something that could happen? So my answer would be, if you can swing a Canadian address, you could probably make that happen. Is there another suggestion you'd like to offer, Brad?
Yeah, so I mean, there was rules in place before, but from what I understand now is, and I was told while I was in Atlantic City, is that if we want to accept submissions, we can accept submissions from anybody.
The shackles are off?
Yeah, so that's from what I understand. That is where we're at with it. So.
Oh, interesting. So obviously we'll have to see how that plays out. But I assume that would also adjust then. Obviously, customs wouldn't be an issue the same way because they'd be going potentially. Well, so I'm trying to think this one out. You submit it to PSA Canada. Sorry, PSA Canada submits it to PSA. They grade it, but then normally they would send it back over to you. So in effect, they would bring it back over, and then you'd ship it back out to the American address, I guess.
Correct. Yeah. So there wouldn't be that much of an advantage for someone to do that, but
when in Rome, if you want to do it in the sense of like, oh, just submit it when you're in Rome, I suppose that would be one thing you could do.
Yeah, there's one way too. If you were up here and you bought cards at the Toronto Expo and you didn't want to take them back with you and you just wanted to leave them, then we could arrange that as well. So
okay. So there are a few scenarios, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
CC says, is it true that PSA has gone away with the qualifiers except for marks and miscuts? Yeah, they got rid of a lot of them. So is it marks and miscuts? Is there other ones still available?
Yeah, so the grader can still use any qualifiers if he deems it necessary. Mm-hmm. So it's still up to the individual graders.
Okay, sounds good. So Katie Collectibles, hey Brad and Carlos. Okay, good evening to you. Absolutely, thank you. And then Paul here, good evening from the Arctic Circle. So Paul is way north right now. Setting the record for furthest north audience member for the show. Yes, Paul is way north right now. So
That's
I think that's
awesome.
probably accurate. Absolutely. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of share, had a little fun sharing that little story of the heady days of 2018. Very different times. Again, it worked out because I did get the grade that I wanted and everything, and the card was good at the time, especially. But then later on, it would be you can't live in the past with that stuff. It's like sometimes it happens. I got a good rate for it at the time, and I did well. I made good money on it. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Hockey Bird Collectibles. Eric is doing blackface and running circles in his room after hearing that answer. There you go. It's back in play. Live the dream, buddy. Live the dream.
Yeah.
Josh here. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Josh. Absolutely. So we covered the different levels. That's a good one. Did a little story time, so that was fun. We did the reveal last week, so that's good. And now we know what the current status is. Obviously, there's still a lot of movement and a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline here, but everything is kind of in flux. There's still a little bit of that going on. So, like I said, guys, if there's anything specific you want to chat on, again, also hobby-wise, if there's anything interesting you want to chat on. So, anything you've been paying attention to that catches your eye a little bit, Brad?
Yeah. So one thing this week that I had a great conversation with was with Ryan Miller, who's now heading up the international expansion efforts with PSA.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a long we chatted for over an hour and got to know each other, and very, very intelligent guy. We seemed to click right out of the get-go, and we're going to have weekly calls over the next 8 weeks as we talk about different ideas and brainstorm and see what we can do, what they can do to help us out, and what we can do to help them out, and keep on growing this business that we have here. Also, there's just a lot of things that are in play, and at the end of the day, our goal is to be the best that we possibly can for Canadian submitters,
Mm-hmm.
and we want PSA to have
And Eric.
and Eric, absolutely, and
Yeah,
Eric,
I suppose. Eric.
yeah, and we want that's good. We want to have control of the marketplace, and
Mm-hmm.
we really want to keep expanding that way we have. And I think the team that we're putting in place, albeit it's small and we're starting to grow, but we've obviously aligned ourselves with everyone from certain people that are hosting shows with us to our large group submitters. We have Kevin at KD Collectibles. We have Luke Watch out of Alberta. We have Pascal in Quebec. We've really aligned ourselves with guys that run great businesses and are young, keen, and want to be part of this as we keep on growing. And there was a lot of people that wanted to be part. Trust me, when I first started and took over from Len, there was, I'm going to say there was probably 50 people that all wanted to be part of PSA Canada. And it's not that we just narrowed it down, but you can see who you like working with, and you can see who delivers and who's been loyal to us the whole time. And those guys we're going to be loyal back to. So as we keep expanding these efforts and we get bigger, and there's a lot of exciting things happen, I think the people in Canada are going to be really happy with what they see. So.
Absolutely. And I think, though, it kind of plays, it's one of those things where even as we go along, as we have the opportunity and the ability, we'll definitely talk through these things and kind of share. Basically, we'll share what we can as we go along. I'm privy to being able to chat behind the scenes and kind of understand. Like, I get a chance to see a little bit more of the picture than the average, but we're trying to reveal that a little bit at a time as we're allowed to, as the opportunity presents itself, which is always good. But the reality is that discussions are being had, calls are being had. People are talking to other people, and the idea is to slowly build out this network. And kind of what Brad's alluding to is that they're not resting on their laurels. The fact that this YouTube channel has been activated, like the channel existed, the account existed, but now it's being activated to actually leverage it out. So that they're not sitting on their laurels. They're like, nope, okay, let's start building out some of this stuff. And that was kind of what they presented to me that they wanted to do. They wanted to start building it out. This is one pillar. The conversation that Brad is talking about, working with KD Collectibles and other folks in Quebec, folks around the country, is like, no, it's trying to build it out. It's like, you know what? We're just not going to sit around and wait for stuff to happen. We're going to try to actually do things and make it happen. And then we'll see where the chips fall beyond that point. And it'll be interesting to see. It makes it more exciting. It makes it a little more dynamic. It's like, why sit around waiting for stuff to happen? Just let's make it happen directly.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So Josh here, will you have a team member in Ontario? Well, technically they do. But I think I know what he's referring to. Or can you handle that at Expo? So do you want to kind of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So again, not getting ahead of myself, and as we keep progressing with PSA, how I envision this is that we'd have 2 or 3 different permanent locations that Canadians could drop cards off in person and also pick up there in person. So as we develop that, I think that's in the near future, that we'll have those, and we're going to continue to do all the shows. Right now, we'll be doing Montreal. We do the Toronto shows. We do our local show here. We did Vancouver. We're doing Saskatchewan. Regina in next month.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned in the chat last time that it is coming up. That'll be one of the. Is that the next show that
Yeah,
the PSA Canada is setting up at? Okay.
yeah, yeah. So we're going to be doing all these shows, and realistic, we'd like to have a presence at every show right across the country to make that ease for people to be able to drop their cards off in person. It's amazing. We're comfortable with the shipping process, but you would not believe the amount of people that just aren't comfortable to ship anything, whether it be $100 card or a $10,000 card. So the more we can be out there and we can show and build up that whole trust with with clients, that's what we want to do. And when someone can talk to you face to face, I mean, I think that's the reason why I have my cell phone posted. When you click on, I always go back to it, but you click on PSA Canada at psacard.com and up comes my information and my cell phone number. And it's been a lot. Like even today, I can see my voice is a little bit. It's been a long day talking on the phone, but that's what makes people comfortable. And it's not like we have to do that. And as we keep growing the team, I keep talking to the guys. They think the exact same way that I do. Let's talk to them. Even Sherry now, who's in the chat, I was listening to her today on a couple phone calls, and it's like she sounded like a 10-year PSA customer service representative, inside out. It's impressive to see where we've come in such a short period of time. And I'm not trying to just give ourselves a pat on the back, but that's the team that we've put into place. So.
No, I think that's fair. And that, like I said, that's why I alluded to it. Right now, we're in a fun spot where, and this is something I've talked to Brad and the team offline, is that I find it interesting how dynamic it is. Right now, this feels like a good time. I know that things are down. Obviously, economics, we're not going to ignore that. That's reality. That's life. We see it. It's reality. And then hobby wise, obviously, certain sectors are down and things like you can't ignore that. That's a reality of it. But I guess it depends on whether you take a long term view or short term view. I'm thinking as a collector or as a business. Like either way, it's one of those things where that's why I made reference to the way I said it a moment ago. So do you want stuff to just happen to you, or do you want to make things happen? Usually, when things are down economically, that's where the more adventurous are able to make opportunities. The biggest gains are gained by the folks that are willing to like peek their heads out when everybody else is kind of scared to peek down. It's like, no, this is the time to be aggressive if you can afford to do so and are able to. This is the time to be aggressive because this is where the wins are secured. Because then when things start turning around, it's like you're already in position A and everybody else is suddenly catching up. And that's a beautiful thing. It's an exciting thing, I guess. Maybe be the way I would present it for everybody.
Yep.
So let me quickly grab this next comment here. So thank you for the question, Josh. Peter Collect here. Anybody follow gem rate data? I do, for sure. Monthly results are always interesting. More so that now most greater backlogs are finished. Yes, absolutely. Proxy to indicate the health of the market. So you are going to see that. And I do think the gem rate data is going to become increasingly interesting, Peter. I would definitely, keep an eye on that because I watch it. Absolutely. And now that the backlogs are starting to Beckett doesn't really have a backlog anymore. SGC is pretty much on point. They're doing so the numbers are fairly accurate to where everybody is right now. You're going to get a sense of where the market is at and where everybody's at because now we're not just counting backlog anymore. Really, most of that has been cleared, and I think we're on the precipice. I don't think they haven't declared victory. The banner hasn't rolled out yet, but it's close. Like it's getting dangerously close. We're like now these are going to be the real numbers. This is what's being submitted.
I think when you look too, one of the things that is look at the July special when PSA offered it. I think we touched on it maybe on the Friday night, or it might have been on one of the PSA Canadas that we've done so far. But they anticipated, 1 million cards to come in, and then 2 or 3 times that came in July, which surprised me. I really did not think that would happen. So immediately, the PSA, what do? They shut that down. I thought the July special was going to run forever. I thought it was going to turn into the August special. I really thought that. But then when the demand was so high, they just stopped. Let's see what we got. Let's regroup. Let's bring back another idea. So
it also is indicative. But for the collector, this should be encouraging. It is good for them to test the waters, basically test their capacity. That's really what it is. It was a test to find out what they can handle. It's good they're more quick with the lever, so that's a good thing. But it doesn't mean it's not going to come back. In fact, I think it means the likelihood of something like that, maybe not exactly the same way, but likelihood of something like that coming back and the marketplace becoming more competitive as a result, because it basically proves people are still willing to submit cards at the right price point. They're sitting on some stuff that like, look, it doesn't make sense for me at this price, but if you can bring the price down a little bit, then I definitely consider it. I've got some cards that might qualify, that might make sense at this price point, that don't make sense today in the current price point. So the Canadians, this podcast is magical. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Brad, have you had the opportunity to tour the PSA's facility in California?
Yeah, so I've been there 7 or 8 times now. And Coral, who was in the accounting department, who was kind of, from when I first started, that's the first person I really met at PSA. Mm-hmm. And yeah, she gave me a full tour of the facilities. It was very large, very interesting, that's for sure. It is kind of, I think a few of the people have alluded to it. It is like Fort Knox. There's security everywhere. It's a very interesting. Now there's 2 buildings that are side to side, and it's right in Santa Ana. So.
Absolutely. And Katie Collectibles take advantage of the status update. Well played. Exactly. But that's the point. We did mention before, like, that is true. If you've submitted something with PSA Canada and you would like a status update, feel free to ask. Your personal information is not going to be given out. You're not going to get grades through the chat. That isn't the thing. But you can definitely ask for a status update to see where your order is sitting on that little scale that we talked about earlier tonight. So hopefully we're trying to give you a little bit of that information to make it more transparent for you so that you know what some of those things mean. If you're tuning in a little bit later, we did actually talk about all the different stages that PSA goes through in its grading. Go and check a little bit earlier in tonight's episode. Check it out, and then you'll actually get a little bit of background on what some of those levels mean so that the next time somebody says QA2, you'll actually have a better understanding what that entails. So that's well done here. Brad is magical. See, you're magical, man.
I think Strictly Canadians, my friend Jeff Jones is using the magical word. I think I did tell that story on the Friday night show. But.
Interesting.
We actually had a card come back for Jeff. He doesn't even know about it. We could actually do a little live reveal.
Well, I'll leave it up to Jeff. I would say, Jeff, if you would like us to reveal that card, let us know. Because I'm never going to show anybody's stuff. I did it because I knew it was coming. And I specifically said, yeah, let's do it because I thought it would be fun. But if you like it, we can show it in case you're eager and don't want to wait for it to come in. You can get a little bit of sneak preview ahead of time. One other thing, actually. So let me, again, guys, the length of the show. My goal, just to let you all know, my goal with this. If any of you watch my other stuff, my live streams can go quite a long time. These are not going to do that. There is a set limit that I put on it. However, we're well within it. I'm shooting between 30 to 90 minutes, depending on what we're going on. If we bring somebody on to chat with us, that could take a little bit more, but I want to keep it at a reasonable number. However, I am open to chatting. Again, I'm also open to chatting about hobby things. Now, one thing I wanted to kind of bring up, and this is something that maybe isn't exploited enough, and we can talk about it for just a couple of minutes. And if there's anything you guys want to put in the chat there, feel free to, because that'll give me a gauge of where we're sitting at, and if there's some other stuff we want to talk about tonight, or we want to save it for another night. So you guys let me know. One thing that I think is, I got to take advantage of it this week, so that's why I was thinking about it top of mind, that I think PSA has done well. And this is something maybe we talked about last week, things that PSA should steal from other third-party graders. Here's something the other third-party graders should steal from PSA. I find that their app collection, the 2 apps they've got, are excellent in terms of giving flexibility and things, being able to look stuff up. And one of the big features for cards that are graded right now, so I can't speak for the past too far because I know they haven't scanned everything through time. But today, the stuff gets scanned. So after you finish and you want to check and look up a card, you can actually use the scan and be able to actually see the card in the app and be able to actually see the image of it. Or if you do the lookup, you can actually look up the card in question, which is a fantastic feature. It's something that I really do recommend that I think is really fun, and it's a good way of doing it. So real quick, I'll go in here. Brad had magical deals over the weekend at a show. Yeah, we can talk about your show for a minute. I kind of have a question for you about that, so we can do that in a second. Ryan Daw here. Good evening. Looking forward to receiving our small submission back tomorrow in Newfoundland. Sounds good. Good stuff. But yeah, the reason I'm bringing it up is that is something where if you do submit and then you get your number, you can actually get the image of the card because they stay scanned on the front and the back. And by the way, there's a couple of advantages to this. One of them is if you're looking at buying a card, you can verify the card in the holder is the same card that's in the scan. So from a security feature perspective, that's actually really handy. Second reason, for those lazy amongst us, myself, they've already taken a scan. So it means if I want to put it on Instagram, I already have a picture. I'm just saying, you're making my life a little bit easier. I don't have to then scan it or take a separate image from it. And sometimes the scan, like if you got a nice shiny refractor card, it could look pretty good. Like it depends on the picture they took, but sometimes it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I may have used that in the past. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I might have taken advantage of that.
That's one good thing too that Sherry wanted me to mention on this. So when we send out the copies of the invoices now, we actually put the cert number on as the upgrade with the
Nice.
card. So it'll say 5 cards at economy at $70, one at express if it got bumped up, and we put the cert number. So anyone that gets their invoice, instead of saying, "Oh, what card was the upgrade?" simply punch in the cert number at psacard.com, and you see your actual card there, which is nice. So
Well, that's exactly it. That's the reason I brought it up, because I don't think not everybody knows that that's a thing that you can in fact take advantage of, and I think it's an underrated feature in my opinion. I think it's a great idea here, and actually I can show you. So let me go in here real quick. I actually did not know PSA had an app. Just download it. Exactly. But this is the reason why I want to bring stuff like this up, because a lot of people do not know that. So CC, awesome. Glad. Hopefully you get some use out of it. And there's two of them, by the way. There's a set registry one, and then there's a PSA lookup one. Both are good. They serve different purposes, but both are good. I can actually show you. So I'm going to show you on the site. We'll actually do it together, and I can actually show you this in action because I got my cert number already punched in from one of my cards, so I can actually show you what it looks like, and and you can take advantage of it here. So bear with me a second. Cool. Okay, so on the PSA website, if you go in the certification, so right there, there's a cert number, a real one, and I'm about to hit verify. So basically what happens is you can punch in the number from the slab. I don't have the slab with me, but I had the number from my picture, so I was able to use it from earlier. But I hit verify, and then it brings this up, but then check this out. Boom. There you go. And you can actually click on it and get the bigger picture. So that's a card I recently added to my collection that I just got in. Purchased it at PWCC, had it shipped in this week, and I may have stolen this picture. Allegedly. just saying, I may have. Rather than take another image. Or I might have used the PWCC one. But either way, the point is that you've got the image and you can take advantage of it. You got the picture of the front and you got a picture of the back. And that's included. So again, I'm not pretending that PSA is the only one to do this. Some of the other third-party graders have started to do this as well, or have been doing it for a little bit. But either way, look, it's still a good feature. my point is I want everybody to have this feature. I want a long run, it's better for all of us as collectors if everyone has this feature. Because then we can so if you see this and you go on eBay and you punch in this number and the card does not look like that, then you got a problem. Then you know something's up and something's wrong. You need to question it and be like, hey, something's wrong with this. It's a good security feature. That's important. Long term, that's better for everybody because then one of the things that isn't on the front of the label, which would be nice, but again, not currently, this is a numbered card. So this is a serial numbered card. However, you can go to the back and flip and check right there. There's a serial number. And you can make sure the serial number of this is correct. You go check the image here. If you see this number doesn't match, you know something's wrong. That's a great way of giving a little bit of extra security. And you can confirm all the information and make sure that's exactly what it is. And then you can see exactly what category is. On the new stuff, this has all been done. It's been done for a little while on the higher end stuff. But on the new stuff, I think net new, all the new stuff has got this now.
Yeah, and it's awesome. The other thing that a lot of people don't utilize either, if you go to psacard.com, click auction prices at the very top. Mm-hmm. And when you click on that, it will give you the recent sales of all cards currently. So if you click on, it's really good for vintage because if you just take a Gretzky rookie, a PSA 7, for example.
Sure.
And if you want to go on a lot of the apps, et cetera, that are out there, you're going, oh, well, what's the average price of a 7? But there's a big difference with eye appeal when it comes to especially a Gretzky rookie, a PSA 7. So if you click on it, when you go to auction prices, you put in a 1979 O-Pee-Chee Gretzky, click on it, and then you click on where it's a 7, and it brings up pictures of all the cards, whether it's sold at PWCC or it's on eBay or Heritage, wherever the auction was, and you can see the card. Like it's a great feature, and it goes all the way back. You can see some cards that sold in, I don't know if it goes back 15 years. I'm going to say it does for a lot of the bigger cards.
I've seen definitely some data that goes back a while. It's not always as extensive, but they've at least got a data set. The point is they have a database. So people haven't fully exploited this, and that's why CC's comment was perfect, and I thank you, CC, for mentioning it. It's like, but people don't know this. And it's one of those things where being around as long of it that I have, it's like, no, to me, the app, having it on the phone, being able to quickly do a scan, I can be in an eBay auction, quickly pull up the barcode, boom, hit the scan button and go and quickly double check. Oh, what's the population report? What is, how many has higher? What's the pop on this particular card? Whatever. depending on the card, sometimes that's more relevant. Sometimes it tells me, oh, if this is actually a really tough card for the grade, maybe I should bid a little more. It gives me information. So you do with it as you will, but at least it's some info, and now you can leverage that and then figure out what you want to do. So it's
Yeah.
important. Let's get into a couple of questions here. So Eric here, Brad, other than the resale value, what does PSA bring to the table the other three companies don't? We don't have to mention the companies now fourth.
Honestly, I think the number one thing besides if you take the resale value is the guarantee. And so many people don't realize this. I think PSA is going to start even marketing it more and more with all the problems that exist in the hobby today with counterfeits, etc. PSA stands behind when they authenticate and grade a card, and they stand behind that with a monetary response. Again, not talking about other companies, but they're the only company that does that. So if you want to invest money and you want to buy a high-end card and you buy it in a PSA holder and something does come out, because everyone can make mistakes. If it does come out that a mistake was made, you'll be compensated for the value of that card. It's such a huge thing, and it's happened. I've had it 2 or 3 different times in the last year on high-value cards where the customers ended up being very happy, and they're happy to keep on investing in PSA cards.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brad. Let me read a couple of these. So I didn't miss them. I just going back. I wanted to grab that one, and then I'll come back up here. So Josh is asking the question: what is the additional cost to get an auto graded authenticated through PSA?
So it's more or less 20%. So if you say if the service level is $30, it's $36, etc. That's what it works out to be, to have any sort of dual service.
Gotcha. And then the other spot will also be on the PSA Card Canada, Instagram. This one, in the bottom. So there's 2 charts. There's the card chart at the top, and then there's the card and autograph dual service underneath. So you can actually take advantage of that, and it'll show you the 2 and the current estimated turnaround. So that's why I say it'll give you the latest. But thank you, Josh, for the question. That's perfect. So he said, hey guys, what's your opinion on events and what effect they will have on cards? So for example, World Cup, World Juniors, Connor Bedard, Serena Williams retirement. So I'll quickly touch on my thought. It is a factor, but it's one of those things where sometimes it's baked in. Like if it's a record that somebody's about to break, sometimes it's already baked into the price. So by the time if you are just thinking about it now, or if it's just about on the cusp of happening, it might be a little late to take advantage of it. We saw that a little bit. So the example I'll give you, this is now a little while ago, a couple of years ago now, when Jeter was coming up for Hall of Fame. He was going to make the Hall of Fame. Like, I'm not a Yankees fan by any stretch of the imagination. I'm clearly not. But the point is, you could see that coming. But you saw a quick run-up in the months leading in, still a couple months away from that whole announcement. And you saw the sudden run-up on his rookie, especially the SP, the foils, because of all the foil and how tough it is to get him higher grades and stuff. You saw a gigantic run-up. And, of course, we were also booming at the time. Like, there was a lot going on with it. But the point is, you saw this gigantic run-up leading into, in anticipation of this thing that was going to happen. Like, it wasn't like, oh, well, what if he doesn't, he's getting it. Like, it's going to happen. So you didn't need... Now, if you had done it a year ago or a year and a half earlier, you could have gotten an amazing price on it and been able to see amazing price appreciation in a relatively short period of time and really capitalize on it fully. But if you're sitting there about 2 or 3 months out and you're hoping to capitalize on this, that window's small. Because after basically right about the time that the thing we all expected to happen happened, the price started to come back down. Like, it was already too late. Like, it's already baked into the price. You're paying high end now of the market. The time to do it was maybe a year earlier because it was something we can anticipate. Other stuff, maybe a random record, we can't anticipate that necessarily.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, like when someone passes away.
That's true.
And it's sad to say some of the greats that we lost recently.
But it also happened with Kobe. Like right before the boom, Kobe passed away, and immediately. And by the way, I'm not going to cast judgment. I remember the conversations just prior to that. Kobe was doing a great job in terms of his second act. He was a businessman. He was working on a ton of projects, doing a ton of great, very impressive things, no doubt. But as soon as he passed away, suddenly he was in the GOAT conversation. He was in the top 5. I was like, wait a minute. Did I miss the part where Kobe was in this? Kobe was not in this conversation prior. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, but Kobe may be top 5. When? When did that happen? Did I miss that part? So now he's in the GOAT conversation. So, but his cards skyrocketed. All of them. Obviously, autographs and stuff always skyrocket when somebody passes away, but all his cards suddenly got this massive appreciation. If you go look at a chart and just see like this sudden boom, way up, like all, but you couldn't have predicted that. Like, there's no way the guy was in his 40s. He was still way too young for you to expect something like that, and he wasn't sick. It was an accident, and then all of a sudden his prices suddenly spiked up overnight, and you can't predict something like that. There's no way.
Yeah.
So status updates, perfect. Yep. So we showed the card, perfect. Just getting caught up here. And Paul is the shiny Favre. So one of my favorite things when it comes to the breads. And we do like our etching, so that's always critical. All right, so Brad's got some goodies. He's reached into the back. He's reached into the back shelves. What's he got going on
This
now?
is for Jeff. I
Oh,
don't know.
nice.
Anyways, it's a Carl Grimes Walking Dead.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Just came back.
that's cool.
Yeah. And it's authentic. The card is authentic with the Auto 9 because you requested just to have the card authenticated, no numerical grade. So
Nice, nice. So that's Jeff's card.
yeah,
Good times. I like it.
there was some cool stuff that came back this week. Some really cool stuff. Some stuff that I'd never seen before. There's a lot of oddball wrestling stuff from like Japan and some different cards. And I've never seen.
Offline, we got to talk. I'm curious. Now you piqued my curiosity. I'm kind of curious about that.
Kim Kardashian. There was an awesome Kim Kardashian card from one of a friend.
So that was Josh Luber's order. I got that.
Yeah.
It's kind of his deal.
Oh, a 2013 Topps Axl Rose card that came back a high grade. That I opened up the box and we were going through the order just to verify everything.
Yep.
And I looked at it, and it just popped at me, and I was like, it was the first time in a long time where I actually felt like I don't know who the guy was, but I wanted to call and say, if you ever sell this card, I would love to purchase this card. But I've never done that before, so I just kind of let it go. But I feel like I might send him an email just, hey, after he gets the card back, just letting you know if you ever choose to sell it. And it's the highest graded version of that, and it just looked awesome. So.
Nice, I like that. So let's read this question. Surprise Pengu. By the way, I love that username. Surprise Pengu to go along with the avatar. Well played. Well played. Yeah. All right, so hi guys. Send in my first orders of the July special. First lot is in QA1, so we talked about the different levels tonight. That's great. I assume it will be billed soon. Do I get an invoice telling me when the card is charged, or do they just do it? So do you want to kind of fill in what that looks like for Surprise Pengu?
Yeah, so I haven't checked any of the July special statuses yet. So if they are in Q1, that's great news. Everything's starting to really speed up now. I think I mentioned it earlier, and it's hard. They're still tweaking things with the new operation in New Jersey, the new one in California. But I think you're going to see in the course of the next 2 or 3 months where these 90-day turnarounds are going to be like 40, 45-day turnarounds. Obviously, when they do a special, it might take, the max 90 days. I know Nat Turner publicly has said he does not want to have a card at PSA any longer than 90 days at any service level. And I think they're really getting close to that. The July special built up another, they kind of fueled what's the proper expression on that? They primed the pump, and they're now they know what they have and they're ready to roll. But I had an economy order that is going to be 20 days from door to door. So there's some things are really starting to roll. So
yeah, especially now that New Jersey is there and they have additional capacity. Like if they really needed it, they could really ramp up New Jersey even more, and it would really push the boundaries on that. And for us, I think from the Canadian perspective, the New Jersey office being there is really handy. Because obviously the proximity, it's even closer. It gives you the opportunity to be able to submit stuff a little quicker and potentially get it turned right around and get it hop right back across the border. And there you go. You get your stuff just a little bit quicker, potentially.
Yeah. And I think on that question too, I surprised Bingo. They probably submitted that directly themselves. Because if they're following the stages, because all orders that come to us, we transfer to our account. And then we fill out the agreement when we ship them with customs and they come back. So if you're seeing your order is in QA1, you probably sent it yourself. So your card will not be charged until once the order hits the shipping department and it goes through the following, then your card will be charged and then you send. With us, we don't send an invoice until the cards come back. And once we receive the cards here, we send you an invoice and then we usually ship within 24 hours. We actually were shipping today, with 12 hours. So
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, for me, it's still a good question because just in general terms, it's a good understanding. But Surprise Penguin, folks who are a little bit later on, PSA Canada is an authorized agent of PSA, not actually the PSA company. They are still two separate items, but we still want to deliver information where we can. It's still helpful. So yes, So did send in directly, and that's fine.
Yeah,
The question is still good because it's good to give you a little background, give you a little information. If we can provide it, happy to
yeah.
do that anyway. We
And
can be of
we're
service
here,
there.
and that is one thing that we do. We have we field a ton of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people that want to submit direct, and we're all for that. And we'll still be here to help you any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I say, like, hopefully, as we go through these lives, I want to make sure that we're not excluding folks who don't submit with PSA Canada. We'd still, if you're on this side of the border, we want you to submit. Like, do it now.
Yeah,
But outside of that, if there's still information we can provide that could still be useful and still helpful to you, we'd still like you to join in. We'd still like you to ask questions because then hopefully we can provide something useful to you. The only thing we ask then in return is that you hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to get to that 100. I'm working on it slowly. We're getting there. All right, good stuff. Ink, paper, wax collector here. Got to get the wrestling people on okay live reveals of that stuff. Yeah, yeah. No, when it comes to that kind of thing, I'm not gonna ask. I'm not gonna ask Brad to show anything that that they don't okay. Doesn't mean I can't ask.
yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm not gonna ask. When it's like that's when camera's off. I was like, oh, show me what did you got going on there? I'm curious now.
It is one thing that we do. So we never do. When you submit with us, it's a confidential. We keep everything confidential between
Yes.
the client and between us.
Yeah, you got to be okay with it. You got to be okay with it because otherwise, it's not. You can't show it off to other people. It's not their cards to show.
Absolutely, 100%. It comes in, it goes, and I know PSA does, and I'm not even sure how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something. It's a question that I have, and I'm going to get the answer for it. Like when you see recently graded on Facebook, and they post a picture of a card
Mm-hmm.
with the serial number, etc. Because it's in their database. Maybe it's part of your agreement when you submit, but I am going to ask that question because I am curious about it. So.
Yeah. I'd be curious if it wasn't also playing off the fact that they do take scans of everything, and technically you could punch in serial numbers and just see. Like
Right.
anybody could really punch in a serial number, and then immediately they would get a picture, especially current stuff.
Yeah.
So like I use my example, but examples that I'm using, like when we did last week at the live reveal, those are my cards. Those are actually belong to me. And when I just showed you that picture now, it was a lot that I purchased. I physically have possession of that card, so I was able to show you because it is my card, and it's sitting on my Instagram. So I'm not hiding anything from anybody in that regard. But
That's
yeah,
one thing we did talk about too. We said how once we get things set up on my end a little more, if we have a camera set up, we will be able to show some cards, and obviously we'll have permission of it because I think that's a fun part of it, and we enjoy that. Being collectors, myself and Carlos, where we look at it, it's fun to see some cards. Like I said, I'm still thinking now in the back of my mind about that Axl Rose card that it's the first time I've actually seen it and had it, and I'm just like, I absolutely love it. So.
No, I think that's fair. Sounds good. Yep, absolutely. No, I appreciate you commenting as well. Thank you. All right, so what we'll do is we'll start winding her down a little bit here. So like I said, I want to keep it right around this range. I think that's good. If you've got any last thoughts or comments or anything in there that you would like us to touch on or address, again, it is kind of open. And if you don't have a question tonight and you haven't thought of anything yet or you're working on it, you can think about it some more, and then we'll do another episode. It is Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern time is when we're doing these lives. Down the road, we'll be doing some standalone videos. We'll get together with the team and figure out where that's appropriate. It'll be stuff that hopefully will be evergreen and helpful in general. How to prepare some of these things if you're going to ship something out. I know folks, to Brad's point, some folks are more comfortable just submitting the cards in person. Fair enough. So hopefully there'll be options for you down the road to submit that at various shows and different opportunities down the road. And maybe there'll be some offices where people can submit, especially in high population areas where, like, hey, there's lots of folks around that may want to drop it off that way. That will make a lot of sense down the road, and it's on the roadmap, so to speak. But it's just a matter of getting there. So, anything else then, Brad, that you want to touch on tonight for the folks?
No, I think that's great, and thanks to everyone in the chat. And I know I didn't get to say, but Ryan Daw, who commented from Newfoundland, is a great customer. We appreciate the business from everybody, and like I said, it doesn't matter if you submit 1 card or 5 cards or 1,000 cards. We will treat everybody equally, and we'll do our best to answer everyone's questions and keep everyone happy. So as we continue to grow this channel, we keep working, like Carlos, you summed it up perfectly. We're going to be very informative, and we're working on some great things coming down the pipeline.
Perfect. And one last thing I'll mention, we already talked about it tonight. Down the road, if you're checking this out on replay and you do have a question or a thought or something you want to mention, put it in the comments section, because the next episode, throughout the course of the week, somebody will usually come by and reply to you. So you can still ask the question anyway. But by the next episode, we'll come back and we'll look at whatever questions are there that are relevant, that we think might be worthwhile touching on. and we'll touch on them right off the top of the next episode. So the comments are being read multiple times by multiple people, and the opportunity is there to get your answer in a couple of different formats depending on what works the best for you. So ask those questions, leave the comments in there. It helps the engagement, helps everything on the channel. We're just trying to build it up. The more people can see it, the better it's going to be, and the more informational it's going to be, and hopefully it gives you stuff that you can actually do and something you can use and take back with you. So thank you, Yannick. Appreciate you, and thank you, Eric. Sounds good. So that'll be it for us tonight. Again, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be back next week. So that'll be the September the 8th. Will be the next episode here on the channel. And we'll catch you in the next one.